Hi friends, Nick here. We're in Numbers 29 today. Have you ever heard the saying, the more things change, the more they stay the same? There's a bit of truth to that. It can seem like sometimes whether daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, even historically, like things cycle for good and for bad. With a bunch of men lately, I've been reading through MLK's book, Why We Can't Wait, and it strikes me that even though it was written 60 years ago, some of the stuff is as relevant today as it was when it was written. Our middle child, Tino, is a real critter character. He loves to find bugs and spiders. He terrifies his sister with it, and he's recently been growing some monarch butterflies, from the eggs to the caterpillars to the chrysalis to the butterflies, and then it goes back again and again. In Numbers 29, at first glance, it can seem almost like a sort of a mind-numbing recitation of dates and procedures and sacrifices. It's kind of legalistic and repetitive. We've already heard this stuff before. Why are they saying it again? You've got to remember here, the book of Numbers is a 38-year narrative of God's people from Sinai to the time they enter the promised land, and it's punctuated with these times where they're reminded about how to be God's people. Here it begins with a call to assemble that goes from assembly to reflection to celebration to rest. Rosh Hashanah, which became the beginning of their new year, they'd blow the ram's horn. They would all come together to get ready for the sacrifices. Sacrifices, mind you, that were not to earn God's favor, but to remind themselves that they already had God's favor. After 10 days, the days of awe, A-W-E, they were called to Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, a most solemn and holy day in their whole yearly calendar, where they reminded themselves that God has given us His holiness. God has made a way for us to have holiness. And then they have a party. Sukkot, it's called, or the Feast of Tabernacles or Booths. For one whole week they would party, they'd be full of joy, they'd tell themselves stories about how God brought them out of Egypt to the place that He's going to take them. And lastly, from verses 35 onwards, it talks about a time of rest. And likewise, Christians today, we are called to assemble in all the different ways that we can. We are called to solemnly reflect that God has made a way for us to be made right with Him through the work of Christ. The death on the cross of Jesus Christ and His glorious resurrection has made a way for us to be in relationship with God. And then to party or to celebrate. Christians are today, especially today, to be the most joy-filled, hope-orientated, forwards-looking people that there are. And lastly, to have the rhythms of rest. But that's not really the point that I wanted to make. We are to have those rhythms and we are to seek them out. But actually the purpose, the reason that this was recited here, I believe, is twofold. One is because they are just about to enter the promised land. And secondly, because they are just about to undergo a leadership transition from Moses to Joshua. So friends, may you today and this week be reminded of the cycles that God takes us through, that there is good and benefit and blessing in those. But may you never forget that God is drawing everything through to His conclusion. He remains in control and He's taking us all forward. Be blessed today.